Good morning, everybody. I want to do this video on Canada's socialism versus viable social programs. Some minority group NGOs in this country, one of them's called Better Dwelling. It's all millennials, largely out east, and they're a terrific bunch. They're very smart. They've been following housing for some time in Canada. And they get it, and they go through the Canadian system. They're looking at inflation, they're watching that in real economics, what I call real economics, measuring your government for what they really are. And the answer's always been, as I learned when I presented in 2019 with a large board of regular Albertans for Alberta independence and an actual Alberta pension plan that didn't hurt the CPP, but actually complemented it. And we had a Montreal expert who's getting into the boards now. CBC is now finally exploring what I explored a very long time ago, what Premier Danielle Smith didn't explore. And folks, governments never explore their inflationary costs. They're grubbing mitts on trying to steal what should belong to you. I'm still very disappointed that in comparative law, which is a relatively new field, I am blessed as I went on this world tour of world academic experts in law, professors of law all over the world. And the field of comparative law is relatively new. It's just in its infancy. And I'm blessed to be a part of that, especially as I'm not a lawyer, let alone a doctorate of law. But I'm blessed that I've been brought forward with that and to learn that. It's how I was able to learn the Alberta pension plan presentation as it should be, what CPP is, how it's governed, how it works, and how others work around the world, especially our neighbors, the United States of America. Right now, we don't see a viable pension in Canada. Even with CPP, it's not viable. The premiums, yes, they were just raised. They're nowhere near the percentage Canadians need to actually have a retirement. And in the years to come, it's not keeping up. You look at consumer price index, when you look at inflation, as Better Dwelling reports this morning, they did exceptional work. I agree with their numbers. I have been through it too, and I've known it for a long time. It's been increasingly harder and harder for Canadians. And the CPP doesn't make the minimum contributions to get there. Our housing inflation is astronomical and out of control. It's Canada-wide. Yes, the most densest provinces have it the worst. We can look at Ontario, we can look at Quebec, we can look at Vancouver, but it's spreading. It's already spreading to Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton. I tell people all the time, we're only ever 10 to 15 years behind the Ontario, Quebec, Vancouver reality. That's truth. Can't deny it. Alberta brags about its younger population. Well, I know the millennial group. My son's in the millennial group. My daughters are the Z generation underneath him. And the reality is, at his age, he's still renting, no fault of his own. He works just as hard as I ever did. He's got no children. He's not going that route. And you look at Alberta and you look at fertility now and over the last 30 years, anyone using markers from the 90s to predict a viability of an Alberta pension plan is an idiot. And when we look at inflation, and I want to hit this video, I don't want to stray too much, but socialism incorporates government, absolutely. And folks, what is socialism? Socialism is the idea that I say, you know what? to make a population completely viable, I'm going to transfer wealth from one set of citizens, or in Canada's case, class subjects, to another. I'm going to create the illusion of prosperity. And in fact, I'm going to create a thievery of one class, generally from another. And it's usually a minority class that steals from a majority of the population class. And that's what we see in Canada. When you look at our taxation in comparative analysis to the United States and the Russian Federation. Why do I pick those countries? Well, they have a lot in common with us, as well as not only geographically, because they border us on both sides, but also because they have the same First Peoples and they have the same demographics, believe it or not. That's the truth. And interestingly enough, Canada far outpaces USA in taxation. In fact, Canada triples the Russian Federation in taxation. They do. And people could say, oh, Russia's bad, but I still want to compare, right? Logical, rational, scientific mind will compare all countries to one another. And that's where you learn in Russian law about socialism. You learn how they define socialism. This idea that you're going to transfer wealth from one group of people to another to make that group viable. And I've always, when I made any policy or platform, even in Alberta independence, I went on the concept of not socialism, but viable social solutions for all groups of people. And to do that, you always have to start with the lowest possible existence of an Albertan, a Canadian, when you want to make policy. If you want to do viable social programs, not socialism, you have to say, okay, at the worst case scenario, I exist in this financial capacity, minimum wage, or I'm a subcontractor at the lowest level. I have to be able to be viable. I have to save for my future. I have to be able to weather the hard times. I have to limit bankruptcies that go on the public debt. How do you do that? You get viable social programs like a pension plan and unemployment insurance that's blanketed for everybody, that everybody has to pay in. And to do that, you remove taxation at the lowest levels. So you set a bar of how much money you have to make in a society to be functionable. That sets your bar for your minimum wage. From there, yes, you can take capitalism and go on. You can go on from capitalism. But it's the idea of mixed economies, especially constitutional monarchies, civil law socialists, and communists that always often say, well, we'll just heavily tax a said group of people and then we'll transfer that money to those who can't make it in our socialist concepts. Well, that never works. It drains the entire system. It drains people. It's not viable, hence it's called socialism, not viable. And that's absolutely what Canada is. CPP is not viable. Trudeau's increases are not viable. It's socialism, because the CPP will never generate that percentage for retirement for most, if not nearly a majority, of the working Canadians in Canada. So they're going to require socialism to subsidize them, and we do, through our health care, through our securities. We have to do that. We borrow more and more and pay more and more to subsidize all older Canadians. It doesn't matter, from Alberta to Ontario, doesn't matter. We all have to massively subsidize people going into retirement in Canada. We're paying for them. The government transfers money to pay for them, largely because people had businesses, contracted, never put into any kind of plan, or people spent all their RSPs navigating the inflation and the higher costs of living. That's the truth. Rents have only exploded across Canada. And yes, most people rent. Most people do not own their own home in Canada. Most people rent, and nearly for all their lives. If you don't believe that, go out to the GTA. You'll find this horrific truth. Most people could never hope to ever own a home in the GTA. This is the same for Vancouver. And again, you get into all this concept of we're going to subsidize people to live in low rental income units. We're going to subsidize you. Again, socialism versus viable social programs. The idea of lowering taxes at that minimum standard of living to get ahead and a minimum wage, setting a bar and then making everybody pay the same contributions so that they can explore whatever they want in life. Go for it, fill your boots, go for capitalism. I fully endorse it, but we must remove the socialism, the mixed economy approach, so that no matter where you end up, you have to pay into that system, whether you use it or not. And it's at a bare minimum for everybody in society to contribute. In 2019, that's what the Alberta Independence Party under my leadership did. We presented an Alberta board. Yes, we did the comparative legal analysis that the vast majority of the country's only doing today, and they still haven't done any comparative law. And why is that? Because we're a socialist country, a socialist fascist country by design. It's in our constitution. It's in the design of every province's constitution as they entered Canada. Absolute, enshrined, it can never be changed. People are not citizens or subjects, or worse, savages. And you have no control over the government's mode and means of taxation. You have any kind, none whatsoever, any representation provincially or federally in representation for taxation. They can tax you without any representation, none whatsoever. That's where you get the tremendous government thievery and the tremendous government buddy system all over the world. We know it as this old world order. People call it a new world order. They talk about WEF and all these other concepts, but it's actually very old. The government's been doing it for a very, very long time, and they're not going to stop until Canadians and NGOs come forward in viable social programs versus the concept enshrined as socialism in this country, and remove it, i.e. remove the crown and change our highest laws of both the provinces and the federal government's constitution, the highest law of the land. Until we do that in our provincial constitutions, socialism's here to stay, and Canadians are only going to lose, lose, lose. All the markers show that Canadians are going down the toilet. Most Canadians are going down the toilet, the vast majority, while a very few in an upper crust are getting tremendously wealthy. And many who don't even reside in Canada, live abroad, are reaping the benefits. Now, how are they doing that? Through your elected and appointed officials by those elected. Through them and them alone and their laws that strengthen them at your expense, at the public trust's expense. And that's the mixed economy socialism that rapes you so badly. And it's not getting any better. All markers show Canada's inflation going through the roof and continuing on. It's not going down. It's only going to get worse. Why? because we have radical immigration. We have no ability in the lands made available to you to do anything more than increase the cost of living in land availability, in energy, and absolutely in food insecurity. It's only going to get harder and harder. I think everyone can look at food prices year over year and their mouth hits the floor. I know when I go grocery shopping, I couldn't believe last night the recent rise in cucumbers. $2.50 in Alberta for a cucumber. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked when it was $1.50 last year, and now it's $2.50. In 3 short years, a cucumber has gone from 60 to 75 to $1.50 to now $2.50. We're going to be living on protein supplied by crickets very shortly. They're already putting up factories all over Canada, Ontario ground zero. I'm sorry to say these things, but the concept of beef, it's going to be a dream. It's a once-a-year luxury for the average working citizen. That's coming. If people don't see that, I don't know what to tell you. And vegetables will be a luxury too. If you don't grow and can your own, they're going to be a luxury. Living in a house, even a small shanty house, will be a dream for the wealthy upper working class, second class citizens. That won't be available to anybody in the third class. That's coming very shortly as we continue at 1 million immigrants a year, which is their goal. It won't be long before all those things disappear for Canadians. You'll have a Hong Kong reality. And I'm glad better dwelling in this millennial generation is seeing that. But you're not going to be able to vote it out with the goodbye of Trudeau. Pierre Poilievre is keeping all of those international programs and policies. He's keeping them all. He's not going to do anything to lower inflation. And Canadians will find out, like they always find out, flip, flop, government to government. They're all relatively the same. 3 or 4 policies they'll highlight in their campaign when they get elected that are for you, the people. Meanwhile, over their 4-year term, this is provincially or federally, they will enact literally hundreds of policies and new laws that work against you, that only steal from you, transfer your wealth to a wealthy elite who enrich your politicians. In countries like the United States, it's against the law. You get caught, you go to jail, you lose everything. But in Canada, that's just another day in the park for the divine first class that you elect and all those they appoint, known as Crown, where they do all these horrific things behind your back. Cabinets, ministries, when you look at the privy councils, through lieutenant governor of all the provinces, the territorial commissioners, all the way to Governor General of Canada, and those secret, behind-the-scenes ordering councils that are done, legislation that they don't want to put through legislatures or they don't want to put through parliaments. They do it all the time, and they're always detrimental to you, the people. That's my video. I hope you've all learned about viable social programs in a real system of the people versus socialism and why it's so dangerous. And we can learn even from the Russian Federation about socialism and its many, many definitions and its barbarism by a wealthy elite class who isn't capitalist. And the term mixed economy, as soon as you put socialism in any economy, you're not viable. You're not viable for the people that you rule over. You're not creating anything viable for them. You're cheating them out of everything they have or could ever have. And that's the truth of Canada. And until the media starts reporting all of it, going through all of it, we're never going to get any better, and Canadians are going to remain largely in the dark. And one day, we're going to be a Venezuela, Cuba, or many other terrible, terrible systems throughout the world that are around us today. We're heading there fast. That's my video. Lots to learn. Share. Have a great day all. Bye now.